Hi, I'm Ann Weiser-Cornell, and what I want to share with you today is something I'm really excited about. I love to help people feel better emotionally. It's basically been my life mission since I was 22 years old. And you might already be familiar with some of the ways that I teach to have a calmer relationship with your own emotional states. Like I talk about saying, something in me is angry, something in me is upset. We also have learned to let a gentle hand go to the place in your body where you're feeling something. But what if that's not enough? What if there are times when your emotions are so strong, so intense, take you over so quickly that those usual ways of being with your own emotional states don't work anymore? You know, I've been teaching focusing for 35 years. I wrote the book, The Power of Focusing. I taught focusing all over the world, and what happened is I had the pleasure of having people tell me how did my methods work for them. And I've received emails, I've received questions that have that kind of flavor to it. Well, what if I'm so angry that the person I'm standing with is somebody I would like to punch? And what if I have a decision that's so hard to make, I've been trying to make it for 2 years and I still can't make it? What if I'm so anxious that I can't even sleep at night? And what if I'm so sad that I feel like I'm addicted to sadness? So these kinds of strong emotions, strong emotional states, they need something more than just the usual ways of helping. And that's why I'd like to share with you today some of my tips for challenging times that I've collected over the years. Okay? So the first thing is self and presence. You are bigger. You are bigger. You are the big one inside you. Your emotions don't knock you over if you can be bigger than they are. That we know. And sometimes that's a little bit hard, or maybe even quite hard. I mean, one of the things that's really happening when emotions are challenging is self and presence gets knocked over. So we need ways to enhance and cultivate and strengthen and resource your own sense of self and presence. So for those times when you feel so overrun by your feelings, so angry, so upset, so ashamed or self-blaming or self-critical, I have 2 tips for challenging times for you today. The first is that when it's hard to be self and presence, when it's hard to be bigger than what's bothering you, really acknowledge that. Acknowledge that it's hard. That already takes you one step closer to being able to be with what's going on for you. Okay, that's one thing. Number 2, there's something about sensing precisely what it's like. So your inner relationship with what's there, what's strong, in that inner relationship, sensing how it is for it, the it that you're with, sensing that precisely is very powerful, surprisingly powerful. Okay? So I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about by reading to you something a woman wrote to me who was suffering from both extreme anxiety and extreme shame. She wrote to me, here's what happens. Something comes up that feels very anxious. The moment I contact it in focusing, something else comes that judges the anxious one as bad, stupid, childish, a burden to everyone. Then it quickly goes to deep shame. I know the judging part is worried, but I can't go there easily. The shame is so strong, okay? So this is her question, and it is a challenging situation. Can't go to empathy for the anxious part because the shame is so strong. So this is what I wrote to her. I said, you describe a classic reaction pattern, an inner war where neither side can allow space to the other. And you're absolutely right that this process needs for you to be self in presence. And remember that self in presence is you, the real you, the natural state of yourself. And so it's not something you have to find, go look for, but something to be, something to cultivate, something that can develop the more time you spend with it. And so remember, I said to her, that in any difficult situation, it's going to be hard to be self in presence. So rather than beating ourselves up for not being self in presence, we want to be acknowledging that it's hard. And that step brings us closer to being bigger than our difficulties. And then I said to her, maybe the very first acknowledgement is, I'm sensing how hard it is to be self in presence right now. So I then went on to suggest to her that she might sense into the ashamed part for more about what gets it so ashamed. I said you might say to it, for example, yeah, I really sense how you feel. I sense you want to sink into the ground and disappear. Okay? Well, I was just guessing what it was actually like for her. I don't know. What is actually true is always more facilitative than our guesses about it. So your contact with the place inside of you and really sensing how it is right now carries you forward. There's something about getting the details precisely right that brings a relaxation in the whole system. So I suggested she give that a try, and I suggest you give it a try as well. So let me just go over those 2 tips for challenging times. Number 1, you're acknowledging how challenging it is right now, right? Not just that you're going through those feelings, but that they're challenging to you. They're challenging to your ability to be with them, to be bigger than they are. That acknowledgement is actually a step. And number 2, that in that inner contact, you're sensing exactly how it is, being able to be with and sense the details, the precise details, and letting it know you hear that. Okay? Thank you so much.